Hi, I'm Emma Sargent and I'm a parent. I'm a parent of two very lovely children who are nearly 10 and 11 and who give me and my husband enormous pleasure in our lives and all as well enormous grief. The point of me talking to you is that I know how frustrating it can be as a parent. I know how we worry about our children because we love them so much. And if, like me, you just want the best for your children, then you search and search for ways to understand them. And you know, nobody teaches us how to understand our children. We don't learn it at school. Our children aren't going to be taught it at school. And I think that's a crime. So when our children say those things to us like, "Oh, mummy, I don't think I've got any friends," and we go, "What? I can't believe you said that." And our instinct is to comfort them. You know, that's what we do, isn't it? We just go, "Oh, I'm sure that's fine. Of course you've got some friends. Don't be ridiculous. Of course you have." Or when they say something like, you know, it's always at bedtime, by the way, isn't it? When they say something like, "Oh, mummy, I'm really worried about my TAP exam tomorrow." In fact, this really happened when Hannah was about 6 and she was taking her first TAP exam, probably 5 actually, and she really loved tap dancing, and we had to have one of those little wooden pieces of a piece of wood in our carpeted house so that she could practice her little tapping moves, and we had the music, and she did a really great job of practicing. And anyway, she was very confident, she loved it, and the night before, what happened? She suddenly starts getting all upset and saying to me, "Mummy, I'm really worried about my exam tomorrow." And I said, "Really?" Now, of course, my instinct as a parent, and you will know this only too well when your children say things like that to you, your instinct is just to comfort. But you know what? When you comfort, whatever they're thinking about doesn't go away. It doesn't make it better. You all know that as well. It just doesn't work that well. So, you know, I thought to myself in that moment, what do I need to find out that means that she's going to feel better? And the reason that I could do that is because in my other life, I work with adults. I'm a coach. I coach chief executives. I train people to be coaches. So I understand, and I'm extremely privileged to understand how people work. And what the point is that I understand how people's minds work, how we communicate, how we can get inside the thinking of other people. And that ability has helped me enormously with my children and with the children of my friends. And I'll come back to that. So what I did with Hannah on that day, that evening where she was sitting there being all tearful, was I said, "Well, what are you thinking about? What are you thinking about that means that you are nervous?" Well, of course, she's a willful young lady, and she said to me, "I'm not thinking about anything, Mummy, I just feel sad." And so I said, "Well, you know, here's the thing. I know that you will be thinking about something that means that you feel this way about your exam. Because what I do know is how we do anxiety, and that's a really cool thing as well, by the way, which I will share with you later." Anyway, so I ask more and more questions, and finally she tells me, "Well, I think the examiner's going to look like a witch." Well, would I ever have guessed at that? No. I mean, there was no way I would have guessed at that. So knowing that piece of information was incredibly valuable for me, because then I could help her think about it differently. And you know, I stand in front of rooms full of people who, when I ask them, you know, "How do you make yourself anxious about stuff?" they can't tell me. Not one person has ever said, "I know, we do it this way." And that's because we don't get taught this stuff, and it's so important to know. It's so important. And as you can probably tell, I feel very strongly about it. So you know, there's a trend now, isn't there, to employ a coach, and there's lots of parenting coaches around too. But that's not what I'm about. I really think it's important that every day parents can interact with their children and understand how to understand them, how to understand their thinking, how to understand what makes them tick, what motivates them or not. You know, because suddenly one day they will do something different. Over time, I'm going to share with you stuff like how did I get my son when he was 7 to understand comprehension tests, and it took me less than 5 minutes. And now that is powerful, knowing that kind of stuff. So I didn't even realize what I was doing with my children until one day one of my friends said to me, and this was in 2002, one of my friends said to me, "Oh, my son doesn't want to go to school, and he's really worried about so-and-so." Anyway, I was able to say, well, perhaps you could ask him this. Perhaps you could think about it this way. Perhaps you could go away and talk to him in this way. Well, and she did, and she came back and she went, "I can't believe it. It has made so much difference." And of course word gets out, and more friends would ask me, "Well, how did you know to ask that question? You should write a book about this." And I thought, oh crikey, I don't know that I've really got it in me to write a book. And I thought I couldn't possibly have enough to say to write a book. And anyway, my area of expertise wasn't about children. Anyway, finally I was cajoled enough and I did write a book. And in fact now my second book is just out. And the point of my book is to help people to coach their own children in ways that mean that they can understand them, so that the child learns how to be self-aware, how to know what they want, how to know how to interact with people. Because this isn't just about teaching the parent, this is about the parent teaching the child to have skills that, for goodness sake, why are we not taught? Why are we not taught? It's crazy that we're not taught these things. So that's where I come in. And I hope that if you sign up, you can just get some really cool free stuff from me. I'm going to be making, the first video that you can have is a video on how communication works and the foundation of how to understand what is going on in their thoughts and how to find that out. And it's really powerful stuff. So I just hope that you will take advantage and leave your email and look out in your email box so that you can get instant access to this video, and I will keep you informed with more videos over the next few weeks. So enjoy. Thank you for listening.